We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live.
Drop the mic with Jason Hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a LA-based TV producer in the unscripted space. And when I say unscripted, that is a pretty wide range. That's competition TV shows, game shows, travel shows, food shows, you name it. And I've worked on all those different types of projects. I've been doing it for about 20 years. I'm an executive producer, and I work on these shows sort of soup to nuts from the beginning concept to casting, production, and then post-production, delivering the shows. Worked on a wide range of shows, from shows with Gordon Ramsay, like Hell's Kitchen, Kitchen Nightmares. I did a show called Dynasty, which was a kind of a cult classic. I worked with Jennifer Lopez for a few seasons of World of Dance. I worked with Dwayne Johnson on a competition, like kind of action adventure show for TNT. I'm currently working on a Fox game show called The 1% Club that Joel McHale hosts. So yeah, that's me.
Pretty awesome. Would love to go down a bunch of those rabbit holes, but out of those experiences you just mentioned there, is there one specific person that you worked with that was like, this was awesome, this is like the pinnacle, this guy's, or this girl, J-Lo, could be, it was amazing?
Yeah, I would say not J-Lo, not for any reason of like ill will or anything. She's just, J-Lo is so like sort of protected and insulated by her team. She's got such a busy schedule. She was the type of professional that showed up, went into hair and makeup. We were all waiting and ready for her. She got on stage. She did her thing. She was dynamic and unbelievable. And when we were done, she was like on a jet to her next, thing. So she was like, I didn't interface with her a lot. It was amazing to see her do her thing, but I didn't get to like kind of interface with her a lot. But someone that I did get to interface with a good amount that impressed me beyond was Dwayne Johnson. We filmed the show in Panama. We were together for about almost a month down there. Also, of course, had a very large team, but made himself so accessible. He made a point to talk to the crew, say good morning, say good evening, take a picture, have a chat with them, get to know them a bit. Was always on time, was always ready to go, lights, the camera, we say go. And I mean, he is on. He's got that wrestling background, that massive persona. He delivers. And I was just so impressed with him. And, it was a great experience.
It's always nice to see that though, right? You always see the TV persona of somebody and you wonder, is that the real them? And it's refreshing to hear, and probably a bit of a surprise for you as well to be like, this is actually the real person that I see behind the camera here talking to me right now.
Absolutely. He's completely authentic. He really is the people's people, and the people's champ. He's wonderful. He really is. He's just got such a great energy. And like to your point, it's wonderful when you get to see those kinds of people be authentic. So someone kind of another path, you talk about their real person. Like Gordon Ramsay's a bombastic, massive character. Like he's the kind of guy, he walks in a room and you're like, holy cow, like he just takes over. Physically, he's very large, 6'3", probably, over 200, 220. Like he's a big guy and his personality is through the roof. And then of course, his style of television there, with kind of, it's a bit aggressive and, yelling at people. He knows how to turn it on. He's not always like that. He's not yelling at everybody. But, that's kind of become his MO. And so he knows how to get ratings and he knows how to make great TV. And, that's kind of fun to watch too.
Working with all these different types of personalities in the production space probably really molded an idea of who you have a tendency to work really well with when you start surrounding a team around you,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That, as an executive producer, the first big job on any show I work on is filling out the team, hiring all the heads of departments, head of audio, head of camera, the DP, a director, the set design and art department, all these kinds of collaborative, really important people. And then all the different producers that work on it, from casting to the creative producers, the post producers, the editors. I love to work with people that take initiative, that are great communicators. I like to empower people on the team. Sky's the limit. Like, I'm not going to squash anybody. I want everybody to be thriving and feel like they have a lot on their plate, and they have sort of leverage and the ability to kind of go beyond what they're used to doing. Because I think everybody should grow with every experience, especially in this freelance world that we're in. I'm freelance. All these people I hire, they're all freelance. Most people are striving for the next level. An associate producer wants to be a segment producer. Segment producer wants to be a producer. There's all these kind of ladders within it. And I like to encourage the growth for people in their careers.
Yeah, that's quite the transition, though, from going from producer from these massive hit shows to going out and being like, you know what, I'm going to start an app. I'm going to start a gaming app. Explain that process and the mindset behind that shift.
Yeah, it's a little non-traditional for sure. I don't know a lot of people in my space that have done something like this, probably for a lot of good reasons. I studied business and film in school, and I don't have a background in building apps, in software, in marketing, digital marketing, trying to get players. There's a whole other world of retention of players and the gaming up behind the mindset of how to reward players, all these things that I still have so much to learn. But really, that idea spawned off of an idea that I had. I am a huge Wordle fan. I play Wordle daily. I have a crew of friends. We play Wordle. Now we play all the other New York Times games, like the mini crossword, and there's a bunch of other ones. Pips came out recently. We just enjoy those games. And Wordle was kind of like a really new phenomenon when it came out, this like casual daily game that appealed to such a mass audience. And I think it crossed over where you think about gamers, right? And there's people who are gamers. They actually have consoles or video games, and that's like a big part of their identity. And that's not me by any means, and that's probably not a lot of people. But this game sort of came into our lives, and it's just like was the perfect balance of competition and difficulty and trivia, but it was lightweight and casual, daily, easy, accessible on our phone. And it also leads to community. Everyone's sharing their score with their friends, with their family, posting it, whatever it might be. So it checks a lot of boxes. And so anyway, I became this massive Wordle fan. And at the same time, when Wordle came out, I started producing a new show for Netflix. It's called Buy My House. And the idea behind Buy My House is think Shark Tank, but for real estate. So rather than entrepreneurs coming on with business ideas, pitching it to these sharks, those entrepreneurs, this is everyday people like you and me who own properties, and we come on and try to sell our house to a panel of real estate investors. So our panel was Glenn Kelman, the CEO of Redfin, which is one of the biggest, US-based real estate kind of browsing companies online. We had Pamela Liebman, who's the CEO of the Corcoran Group. And then we had an ex-NFL linebacker who's a big real estate investor on the panel, and then another LA-based real estate investor. And they each kind of had a different box that they satisfied in terms of they were looking for investment properties. They were looking to flip homes, to hold homes as rentals, you name it. And so I kind of deep dove real estate for about a year. I was responsible for finding these sharks, if you will, these investors. I was responsible for overseeing the casting of all the 35 homeowners from across the country that came to sell their properties and what type of properties they were going to be selling, the price point, the type of home. And then seeing that process through production. We filmed at Netflix studios in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then the post-production process. It was 8 one-hour episodes. It was a really great show if you're into real estate and you're into that kind of thing. And so that's where I came up with the idea. During that year of this real estate deep dive, I fell in love with I've always liked real estate, but I think I realized my passion for it even more. And I was like, Houzel, Wordle for real estate. Who wouldn't like that? Browsing homes daily, the same sort of lightweight casual game, the social element, if you get it right or not. Then there's the whole other side of the world, which is like looky-loos. People like exploring other people's home for design inspiration, architecture inspiration. People also like just learning about what the price point is of a home in different areas. And that's sort of the heart of the game.
So it's interesting. I love the idea behind it. I mean, people come up with ideas all the time, and ideas are a dime a dozen. right? It's like, I got this great idea for a game. It's like, buy my house, but gamified in a sense, right? Where you're guessing prices of houses. That sounds brilliant. So was there a point in time where you're like, I'm doing this because this idea surpasses the rest of the ideas I've ever had, so I'm going to execute on this? Was there something that pushed you over the edge to make that decision?
It's a great question. So around the same time, I had this other idea for a new business called Showbusy, which is pairing productions with crew. Similar to how I talked about earlier, we've got this freelance community of people all around the world that are looking for jobs. It's a difficult process to find great people for your production, especially in a booming economy when there's a lot of high volume of productions, especially in a more international production world. So I had this other idea of a software, like a SaaS software model to pair these people up. And in that process, I sort of started pursuing it and interviewing software development firms. And so when I had the idea for Houzel, I actually started a relationship with one of these software development firms that I really liked. And I pitched them the idea of like, this is what I'm thinking. How hard would it be to make this? And they came back with what I thought was like a really, really fair and attainable number to build the MVP, like the first version of the game. And so, on one hand, it's like, it was still risky. It's still, somewhat significant amount of initial capital. And of course, I think there was a lot with the idea that I didn't even know I was going to have to get into. It was like, there was some naivety, I would say, around it. Not sometimes it's what you don't know is it can stop you, or what you do know can stop you. But I think because there was so much I didn't know, it didn't prevent me. And I just kind of dove into it. And it's been a pretty major learning curve. The mobile gaming world is very competitive. But I've truly enjoyed it. I still produce TV. That's still my bread and butter. And I'm not looking to get out of that, but this just felt like something attainable. I don't want to be on my deathbed one day and say, wow, I should have done that. I've had a lot of good ideas where they come to fruition, but not by me. And I go, I had that idea. Why didn't I go and pursue that? It just happened recently. Side note, I had a TV show idea called Stranded with My Mother-in-Law. Okay. Sort of silly. But the idea was, I think in-law relationships are a bit difficult for a lot of people. I've had a lot of conversations with friends and, people struggle with that relationship. I definitely did when I got married. And I thought, this is my reality TV brain. I said, what if you put two people who have a strained relationship on an island and sort of amplify that situation? That would be good TV. I just found out Netflix has a show called Stranded with My Mother-in-Law. Literally verbatim title, verbatim content. And I was just like, you're kidding me, right? So anyway, just another example of like, when you have something you really believe in, you got to pursue it because you never know when it's too late. You don't want those regrets.
100%. I had a similar, not an idea like the mother-in-law one, which I think is brilliant. I actually like my mother-in-law, but besides the point, I had an idea of a board game cafe back in like early 2000s. I thought it'd be a brilliant idea to have a board game cafe called Snakes and Ladders. And fast forward probably about 7 years, I came back from university. It wasn't 7, it was 4. I came back from university and I'm walking downtown Toronto and I see this shop called Snakes and Lattes. Mofo, like what the heck? Somebody took my idea of a board game cafe.
Hey, good ideas, they find a way.
Can't sleep on them. You can't sleep on those good ideas, right? You got to realize them and then take the leap. But you can understand how disencouraging it can be if you have these ideas and you try a few and they flop, right? But
that's true. It's a balance. You can't pursue every idea you ever get. That's not realistic, right? I think you got to filter through them. You got to market test them with friends and bounce them around with friends and family, trusted people, your smartest friends, and then go after the ones that, stick out. Hey, buddy.
Did my puzzles come?
Yeah, can you go down to mommy and do them, please? Hey, Rach, can you help me, hon?
Okay.
Thank you.
Did the puzzles come, though?
Yes, we got puzzles. They're down waiting for you. Go with mom.
I already went out, but I don't
I'm
know
sorry
what
about
to
that.
do.
That's okay. That's okay.
Daddy,
You're not the first guest in the show that has a kid come on, so it's all good.
But you got to go with mommy.
did you get my?
Thank you,
did
sweetie.
get-
All right,
Did you get?
here we're back.
Did you get my animal?
So, when we're talking about, the ideas and they come and go, and then this idea comes and it's a fantastic idea, but it needs reinforcement before you call it a fantastic idea. And you achieved 2 million plays with zero marketing spend. At what point of the journey with Houzel were you like, yeah, I'm going all in. This is it. The reinforcement's there. It's going to work.
Okay, well, I got a little lucky in the beginning, I would say. Well, it's funny. It's calculated luck. It's not really luck. I put the time in. When I say I got lucky in the beginning is when I first launched, I got featured in a Business Insider article that really sort of took off, and a ton of other media outlets kind of either replicated the article or kind of did their version of it. And so out of nowhere, out of the gates, I had all this press on me and on the idea. And when I say I got lucky, it's like, well, I got a little lucky that someone featured me in these articles, but I put in a lot of work to get covered. I was spending time on LinkedIn and going through articles that were similar, people that cover tech, people that cover, games, and finding those writers and reaching out to those writers. And so it was very calculated. I put in a ton, hundreds of hours into that. So, I guess it's not all luck. And it was I had a good story to tell. I think it's an interesting story, being a TV producer, working on a Netflix series, and then creating a derivative of Wordle, which, what is a cultural phenomenon. So with all that press, I got a lot of players. I got the influx of players. I'll never forget.
I recently returned from speaking at a conference about AI and marketing, and my inbox went absolutely bonkers with people requesting my presentation slides. Now here's the thing. Instead of emailing slides to dozens of people, I decided to do something better. I launched Amplify Your Brand on School. It's where I'm sharing the AI tools that actually work, not the garbage everyone's hyping about. The exact processes our agency uses to save 15 plus hours every week. Real strategies that drive results. You'll get my slides for my presentations, weekly live business audits, and access everything we do at Merged Media. No fluff, no BS, just what works. If you want to learn more, go check out Amplify Your Brand on School. That's school, SKOOL.com/AYB. See you on the inside.
When that press went out and the tens and tens of thousands of people that were showing up to play the game, and on Google Analytics, I could see the numbers going up and up and up. And I just remember being like, oh my God, it happened. It's working, And again, it's funny with like naivety, like in my head, it was just going to keep going to the roof. It was never going to stop. It was going to go to hundreds of thousands in a couple of weeks. It was going to go to millions. All just sort of by word of mouth. And that's not what happened by any means. When these tens and tens of thousands of people came, X number, let's call it 25% or 40%, really fell in love with the game. Some people came, wanted to check it out, and they were probably like, oh, that's novel, that's cute. Not for me. I don't need to play this every day. Or maybe they came back every few days or once a week. But then I did find this hardcore audience that were coming back daily. And that's what I've really found through this experience is there is a community of people who absolutely love the game and are hardcore. And when I realized that, I'm like, this has legs. These people are valuable. And I know that I can scale this and turn this into something profitable.
What do you think creators get wrong when they try to manufacture virality?
That's a great question. Virality is lightning in a bottle that I don't think anyone has an answer to. It's funny. I see everybody right now, like the trend right now is everybody's doing these like quick movements at the top of a video. My buddy Ben Nemtin, he's like this big motivational speaker. He's Canadian. I don't know if you know him. We did a show called The Buried Life back in the day. He's a wonderful guy. And I just saw his latest video. He's like in the back of a car and he starts the video like this with his hand with the camera, like boom. And there's obviously, there's validity behind it. I get it. Like, I understand from a TV background, different tricks and things that get people, you kind of shake the brain a little bit. It doesn't start static, perfect. You might just like flick through but the movement of it helps with, I guess it changes the pattern in the mind. And I don't know what it is, but so back to your question, right? Going viral. Definitely, like, authenticity is really, really important. I know a guy named Mikey Taylor. He's got a podcast called Life with Mikey. He does like financial advice, especially geared towards the younger community. He recently put out a couple videos since the Charlie Kirk shooting that were just like him speaking from the heart. And his normal videos get like 100,000, 150,000. His last videos, if I look right now, it's probably up to 2.5 to 3 million views. And again, he didn't predict it. He even, I think, had a follow-up video to be like, I can't believe the response I'm getting. But it's different things that stand out, that are authentic, that are real, that, capture people. And then somehow it motivates someone to want to share it, right? That's the trick. If you get someone to want to share something, tell their friend about it, share it with a family member, whoever, repost it. Obviously, that's the goal. That's the secret sauce. I don't have the answer per se, but generally speaking, like you said, manufacture it. I think anytime you're trying to manufacture something, you're probably going to fail with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's because it begs the question coming from a TV producer background, because you are manufacturing a lot of stuff as
Absolutely.
a TV producer, right? And it almost seems like that would be a natural progression to start manufacturing content when it comes to promoting the game, but you didn't have to do that, right? Which is kind of unique. You probably inside of you, like, I have this background as a TV producer. How can I relate some of these skill sets when I go to market a game, which is that is a big game, the game creator pivot. It's a massive pivot to what you were doing. Do any of those skills that you learn as a producer translate?
I would say ish. Like, in terms of social media, I think I make pretty good content. I've been starting to put out different real estate focused videos, and I've got such a strong background in editing, music selection, pacing. I definitely think that's a pretty significant leg up in terms of putting content out there, but I'm not trying to claim that my videos go viral or anything like that. Believe me, I'm thinking about it. I am trying, but it's an A/B test that I'm continually practicing in terms of length of videos, taglines, text. Is it a question I'm posing towards the community? Is it a statement? I am in the same, community as most people, where we're trying to put out content that, hits.
When it comes to operations, how many people are on the team promoting Houzel? How do you go about that?
So, very small team still. I basically have myself. I have I guess like a back end person in terms of helping me input the games. I hand select the games, but I have someone who helps me turn them sort of into digital soft games, the daily game. And then I have like my actual development person. That's sort of, and I know at some point in this conversation, you want to talk about the future of Houzel. Like, that's where I need to get is I need either an injection in capital to really elevate the game and take it to the next level, to find that larger audience. Because like I said, I started with that no capital version and it did explode. But then, like I said, it kind of came back to that foundation, and I have this nice healthy base of people, but I want a 10x it. I want a 50x it. It's going to take capital to get there. I believe there's some other non-traditional ways I think I can get there. If I can get a brand partner on, like if I could get, Rocket Mortgage, let's say, as a partner. Rocket Mortgage bought Redfin. They're a really, really deep-pocketed company in the real estate space that I think Houzel could be a great lead generator for them for mortgages, for people looking for real estate, you name it. That could be a great way to elevate the game. Another opportunity that I have very active at the moment is YouTube has now launched a gaming platform within YouTube. It's called YouTube Playables. And they've invited me to put my game on to their platform in this sort of beta process that they're in. And I literally just submitted the game on Monday to them, and hopefully Houzel's up on YouTube shortly in YouTube Playables. That is going to open up the game to a lot of new people, and that's a great opportunity.
Yeah, in my business, we do a lot of lead magnets. We're very fixated on how to attract attention for our clients and get people into their ecosystem. And we work with a lot of real estate agents, right? But I think Houzel is a brilliant lead magnet for any real estate firm out there. Here's a new listing. Blur out the price. What do you think the price is? How many guesses is it going to take you to guess the price of this home in our town of Guelph, Ontario? You know what I mean? And target Guelph, Ontario with that listing. Gamified. Plus, it's bringing massive awareness on a local scale to the community here. Like, that's brilliant, right?
I completely agree. I think it's a really great way for any real estate agent to interact with their community, whether they're promoting their own listing, promoting a different game, a different listing. I still think it's a really interesting and smart way, because realtors, they're trying to just keep their name out there. They want their name to be top of mind when someone says, "Oh, I need to sell," or "I'm looking to buy." They want their name to come up. And one of the ways they do that is just by staying relevant, posting, just being, in the ether. And I think Houzel's a brilliant way and a smart way to engage with their community. Your version, amazing. Like, put up your listing. Don't put the price. What do you think it's worth? Get some market insight there and just engage with their community.
Does Houzel have that integration where real estate agents can do something similar to that, or is that something in the works?
Yes and no, I guess, is my answer. I have my email address listed on the different platforms where you can submit your game to me. I make my info@houzel.house very public on my social media and within the game, where any realtor who wants to sort of get their listing as the featured game, they can do that. They can reach out to me. Most likely I can make that happen.
A moment there, Doug, you said, looking for funding is a big goal for you in the near future and getting funding. So, but then again, like, you didn't need funding to get that earned media with Barstool, which is pretty cool.
Right. No, you're right. And that was such a wonderful thing that happened. So they go live on this Mostly Sports podcast, 90 minutes. I think it's daily, Monday through Friday. And they talk about mostly sports, but they're all over the place with some other topics. And they allow their listeners to write in with ideas. And one of my fans wrote, they happen to be talking about real estate at the moment. I don't know exactly what the topic was in regards to real estate, but someone wrote in, "You guys should play Houzel." Literally. I didn't think to tell someone to do that. I didn't do that. Some fan of Houzel who loves the game, one of my hardcore fans, right, who likes the game and plays daily, was like, "This would be fun. You guys should play." And again, when we talk about authenticity and organic, unforced content, that's what happened on their podcast. They pulled up the game. Their producer popped it onto their screen, and they were learning about the game in real time, reading the rules and being like, "Wow, how fun, how interesting." And they started to play. And then you got into a really funny moment where very quickly you saw how people's sort of knowledge on real estate is very different, especially if you've been in the market, if you've purchased something versus if you haven't. So there was 4 guys on the podcast, 2 sort of, I don't know your age, but I think we're about similar age. 2 guys probably our age, and 2 guys in their like low 20s. And they saw the first house, the first picture of the house, and the clue was Colorado. And it was clearly a nice home, pretty modern, 3 stories, pretty sizable. And one guy guessed, like, say $2 million. The younger guy guessed 600,000. And they all started laughing at him because they're like, "What are you trying to rent 1 bedroom?" Like, clearly this younger person didn't know a lot about real estate, because there wasn't a world where a home like that could be $600,000. And that's something I love about Houzel, is that it educates people on something that I believe is incredibly important for every person's life, whether you're going to own or not. Knowing about the real estate market is incredibly valuable. I believe it's one of them, if not the most valuable thing you will own in your entire life. And why not have fun while kind of learning about it?
Ever think about doing Houzel competitions and stuff like that? Like having like tournaments,
How
brackets,
about a game show?
right?
That's my world.
Right up your wheelhouse.
I've been developing a game show. That's one of my goals with it. You know, maybe we can have a really big, shiny floor game show where we bring on newlyweds or engaged couples, and they could win, you know, significant money on a down payment for a house.
With the Barstool opportunity, I don't want to breeze over this point because that is a massive opportunity. You now have a piece of content that obviously is viral. Are you leveraging that content to amplify the reach and exposure for Houzel?
I am. I've started to put some money behind. I sort of repackaged the clip, and I put some money behind it. And you know, there's really specific ways you can target people on social media, and so I've targeted sports fans, Barstool fans, real estate fans with that content to try to get more players. And I'm still in the early days of sort of this kind of harkens back to the you know, the amateur that I am in the space. I am still figuring out, you know, the A/B testing of all that and what spend is what am I getting for each, you know, dollar I'm spending, and you know, how to maximize that. But absolutely, that content is very valuable, and I am leveraging it.
We used a, you know, we have a client in the golf simulator space, and 2 years ago, they had a guy record, you know, user generated content. A guy records a video of himself wearing a Speedo, shooting in a hole in one in this golf simulator, and to this day, that piece of content has been running consistently every day for 2 years and has not saturated. And all we use that content for is to capture people watching 75% of that video. We can make the assumption as somebody watches 75% of that video, they're now familiar with that brand, and now we can retarget them with more aggressive advertising. And I think this is Barstool piece of content. Just run a video views campaign and get as many video views as possible, and then hammer them with some sort of an opportunity or discount to go and play the game. Right.
Right. I love it. That's so funny. I love that. I mean, who came up with the idea? Was that organic or was that premeditated idea? What was that?
Random, so random. And this guy sent us the content. You know, we actually saw it there. Somebody tagged the client on there, and we're like, "This is fantastic." We ripped that content and just ran an evergreen ad. Not even spending a lot, like $2 a day.
See that? What's the company called? The golf tech?
It's called the Manor Golf. So,
like they would have never. Not to say no one's smart enough. It's just like. No one's gonna think like I'm gonna put someone in a Speedo into this product, you know, to market it. No one would ever in a million years come up with that idea. And there you go. That's the secret sauce that ended up working. And of course it's working, right? Like it's funny and it's something you've never seen before. And it's water cooler talk, you know, that's what, you know, people are talking about that the next day at work. And did you see this? And then they're showing it, and then that one person that saw it turned into 4 people, you know, and it's magic.
100%. We had a similar example. I had a guest on a few episodes ago, Dana Hork, who used to do social. She was a social media lead for Walmart, and she was the one that was behind the Yodel Boy. Remember the Yodel Boy that went viral? This guy singing at Walmart, little tiny like a bow tie or tiny tie there, and he's yodeling in Walmart. And then next thing you know, this piece of content of somebody randomly recording on their cell phone went viral. The guy's name is Mason Ramsey. The guy's a hit country singer now. And and that was all done organically. Walmart wasn't sitting around a boardroom table thinking about how can we grab this piece of content to make it go viral? How much money do we need to spend? It just somebody acted on it quickly, put it live, and then the reach just amplified, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that happens all the time. I think that's the big point here is people try really hard sometimes to make something, you know, go viral when that much effort is not really required.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, shifting gears, Doug, I want to talk a bit about the future of maybe gaming, the future of content. I mean, you're a producer, you're in the front lines of this. If you were to look into your crystal ball, where do you see the future of, well, we'll start with even just producing and content in the next 5 to 10 years with the emergence of obviously AI playing a key role?
AI. Well, the big trend right now that's been happening and is sort of continually happening that I think is going to keep happening over and over is creators from YouTube and from social media and from the sort of what I call non-traditional digital world, let's say, they are expanding and growing day over day, month over month, and they're going to keep going because that's where the eyeballs are. And when they're getting to a certain level, they're now crossing over, creating their own production companies, putting content onto the more mainstream traditional platforms like your Mr. Beasts of the world, Darman. I see that happening. Just that's the most common story that I keep hearing about. They're bringing their eyeballs over, whereas 5 years ago, 7 years ago, this wasn't the case. The legacy content was just shows created in-house, and launched, and it's kind of it's switching now where it's like they're looking for people with baked in eyeballs to kind of help elevate the content and elevate the viewer base. So that's a big trend that I keep seeing. I'm forgetting her name right now. Call her daddy. Alex Earl, is that her name? For instance, her. There's a new big dating show that's coming out soon. I believe it's for Amazon. And she's the executive producer. They're using her name as the leverage and her viewer base and popularity as the leverage of this new, what normally would just be your traditional new dating show like Love Island or whatever, but it's from executive producer Alex Earl, right? And that is the trend that I keep seeing and we're going to keep seeing.
Do you see guessing games such as Houzel continuing to be a big player in the future of gaming?
Yeah, I do actually. I think the category of casual games, these games that you can pull up on your phone, play within 1 to 2 minutes, like Wordle, like Houzel, like a mini crossword. I think that they have so much value for people. They kind of become a ritual in people's lives, and people look forward to playing it. I think the fact that there's scarcity and it's one per day, like that helps keep it relevant and fresh. One of the biggest complaints I got from people when I launched Houzel was, I want more. I played the daily game, but I want more. I want more. So to feed that, I created a subscription model where people can pay $2 a month and access the entire archive of over 1,000 games. So people want to go play all these different games they can now, but I still keep the one daily game, as like the bread and butter that's free and accessible, lightweight. And I do think that it's a very popular category for a reason. And I think it will continue to be.
People are more and more attracted to, short form pieces of content, short form games. They just don't have the attention span like we once did, right? To even invest more than 5 minutes into something. So I think
have you heard of the trend of like micro dramas? Have you heard of this trend?
No. Explain.
Micro dramas. So this is a new trend coming out of Korea. And have you heard of Quibi? Do you remember that company, Quibi? Quibi was from I don't want to butcher this. Like, I think it's Ron Howard, perhaps. It was one of the big movie producers. It was like this brainchild of his. Quibi was a new software platform that was bringing bite-sized content out there. And you could rotate your phone and the content would switch from vertical, to landscape and vice versa. And it totally flopped. They put in tens and tens, if not $100 million in this product, and it totally flopped. And what's interesting is, I don't know if it was either ahead of its time or they focused too much on the technology and not enough on just getting the content out there. But that's what's hot right now, is these more bite-sized content, but scripted. And so coming out of Korea, these micro dramas, and people are paying, I don't know if it's 50 cents or $1 for like, I don't know if it's per episode or for like a little mini series of, 5 minutes. But there's a big market and it's growing exponentially. They're calling it $1 trillion market. And I see that as a big trend towards the future. Because just like you said, attention spans are shrinking. the next generation is used to fast paced, quicker moving stories, quicker moving content. And I think even the scripted side of things sort of has to serve that. And that's what I think what's going to happen, why these micro dramas are working.
It reminds me of one of my favorite movies when I was younger, when I was a kid. Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes, Demolition Man.
Right.
Remember that movie? Do you remember that movie? The seashell. But I remember there's this one scene in the car where they're just like, they're jamming out to their favorite radio jingle. You know what I mean? This is a big thing now. It's these 20-second little jingles and no more like 4-minute songs and hits. It's all about that. And our world's slowly getting to that point now where it's just like Demolition Man. They hit the nail on the head with those predictions.
Funny. Totally.
Awesome. Well, Doug, this has been an awesome chat. If our audience has any questions for you or want to get in touch, what's the best way for them to do that?
My email address is doug@houzel.house. Houzel's HOUSLE.house. Feel free to reach out. Happy to connect.
And play around with the Houzel. Check it out.
Yeah. Enjoy Houzel. Share it with your community and, have fun playing and learning about real estate. And I hope you enjoy it.
Thanks for your time, Doug.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you, podcast listener, for checking out that episode of Drop the Mic. If you liked that episode, I would love it if you went on over to your podcast platform and left us a 5-star review. And if you don't want to miss an upcoming episode of Drop the Mic, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Thanks again. See you soon.